Hello everyone. So I made a video about custom liveries in ACC 1.8, explaining some of the changes there. Since then I've been doing a little more digging around in the settings and some configuration files. I've got a few more things I want to share with you which you might find useful if you work with custom liveries. I would say please do go back and watch the first video I did on my channel, as it covers some of the points I'll be making in here. So let's just pull up a custom livery in game. We'll use a different one from my last video. Let's take the Aston. I've been working on one here for a Battle of the Bands special event at our club. Get looking at the DDS files. So as I mentioned in the last video, we get these DDS files _0 when we look at a livery in the showroom. So these are the full resolution 4K liveries. If we zoom in on the car, you'll see there's quite a lot of textures and details, and it's very crisp in game here. So get out on track, and as mentioned, we will get another set of DDSs created, _1. So these are lower resolution, but let's call those medium resolution for the time being. And we'll see any second now when the game loads in. And let's hit drive. And if I just spin around here, you'll see the textures aren't as crisp because this has been reduced in resolution to 2048 by 2048. That's all by design. Let's quit out of there. So there is a third quality level for DDS files. To get to it, we'll need to go and play around in a JSON file that contains some configuration settings. So I'm going to go back up into my Assetto Corsa Competizione folder, config, and we want menu settings.json. And I'm going to scroll quite near the end, and then we'll just wind it back up a bit. Where is it? Text cap. Okay. So text cap, texture cap, I'm assuming this means. I'm guessing. I've just been kind of playing around with this stuff myself. So actually a reminder here is that none of this is documented by Kunos or officially supported. That it is possible to use custom liveries, but this isn't something that we can expect to get support from Kunos directly on. So hence, that's one of the reasons I thought I'd put together a couple of videos on this topic so the community can spread the knowledge. So yeah, text cap, the default value is 1. Actually, I'm just going to exit out of the application for a sec, and we'll then change it. I think it's good practice to not make any changes on the fly when the application's running. So if we change this to 2 now, press save, and I'm going to launch the application again. Okay, while that's loading, I'm just going to go back into the custom livery folder we were looking in before. So it was this one here, my Beastie Boys livery. So if you remember, we've got decals 0 and 1 DDS and sponsors 0 and 1 DDS. Let's go again and keep an eye on this folder too. Let's move that slightly. So remember now our text cap setting is 2. So the car's still looking full resolution in the showroom. But if I go out on session now, in session, get the car out on the track, let's see what happens. So you'll see here, because we've capped the texture quality at level 2, it's actually gone a lower resolution again. So I think we'll see the car's not going to look great. If I just go to an exterior camera and spin around. No, it's very pixelated. However, this mode might be useful for stewarding, analyzing replays and so on. It should speed up load times when loading a bunch of cars with custom liveries into memory, because we're dealing with a lot less data here. So if you look, the file sizes there are significantly smaller, 1.3 meg compared to 5.5 meg, or the full res are 21 meg. So yeah, that's useful to be aware of that extra low res texture mode. Only certain cases where you'd want to use it, but it is there if you need it. And conversely, let's exit the game again and go back to our settings. And I've already got that open, haven't we? So now I'm going to change this to 0 now. Remember, the default value is 1. So what I'm expecting here is that even out on track, we're going to use the full 4K liveries. Now, Kunos set this at 1 for a reason, for default value, and I'm going to expect we'd run into video memory issues if you had a large field of cars all running custom liveries where we had the text cap at 0. But in any case, let's save this and see what happens. I'll relaunch the game. So we'll go back into customs, liveries, and in here. So we've already got all these DDS files. I'm actually going to delete them all and see what gets generated when we go out on track now. If we start the session, and what I'm expecting here is that we'll only get the highest resolution DDS files. And you can see here, yep, we've got decals _0 and sponsors _0. And let's hit drive and go and inspect the car. So yeah, I can tell here that this is the full 4K livery in game. So I'm definitely not going to use this for racing. I might want to use this if I'm taking some screenshots, things like that, where I want the absolute best image quality. I haven't experimented this with a lot of cars on track where they've all got custom liveries, but I can kind of see that there could be problems, especially if your video card doesn't have a lot of video RAM. So let's quit that and come out the race, and then we'll take a look at one other thing I wanted to show you around working with custom liveries. So when we're creating liveries, there's a lot of trial and error usually when you're actually working on the image files. So as it stands, from what I've shown you so far, that's actually a bit slower, the workflow now in 1.8, because every time we change the PNG, we actually don't get an updated DDS. They stay as they are. So let's just do a quick change now. Switch into Photoshop. So this is my sponsors layer, and I'm just turning on this graphic that I want on the roof of this Aston Martin, and we'll export that and overwrite the old sponsors PNG. So the difference here is we should see this black circle on the roof of the car. So previously, in earlier versions, all I had to do was click on the number to get my update. It would regenerate the graphics in game. That's not working anymore. I'm still stuck with those old DDS files. So one solution is to just manually, let's come out of here, manually delete them, and then go back in, and is that going to work? See if it regenerates it. And it hasn't. I think I actually need to change car to get this to work. So if I switch to that, and then maybe let's try again. Okay, yeah, so we had to change car to trigger that regeneration of the DDS. So that's a bit of a pain. Now I'm waiting for my DDS to get generated. And now I can see, yeah, I've got the graphic on the roof of the car that I wanted. So there's a quicker way to do this. I'm going to exit the application and go back to our settings file that we still have open. And what we're looking for now is this text DDS option. It's underneath the text cap that we looked at before. It's set to 1. I think it's a new option for 1.8. So if you set it to 0, it reverts back to the old way of handling custom liveries. So if I was having a session where I'm just basically working on liveries, I would set this to 0 so I can much more quickly see updates in game. But I really strongly recommend you set it back to 1 when you're done doing that. So I've set it to 0 and I'll launch the game one more time. So we can delete these DDS files now. And we'll go back to my car. So it's got the graphic on the roof. Let's switch to Photoshop, make a new layer, and we'll paint something on the roof. Well, we'll paint something all over the place. Doesn't really matter. So let's now save that back into here to sponsors. And it will restore legacy behavior, which means as soon as I click on this car number, it's going to regenerate the image in game, and there's no DDS files in this folder. So just to recap, this text DDS option is something I would say always keep it to 1, unless you're working on a livery, in which case you may find it useful to set it to 0 temporarily. So I'm going to exit the game and set everything back to 1 because I think the default values are there for a reason. So we can save this file when we're done. So yeah, hopefully the text cap and text DDS settings, you'll find them useful. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you've got any feedback, questions, or anything to share on this topic. Thanks a lot.